What is up, Home League Podcast, where there is no you in league? Welcome back. We've got a great episode for you today. Let's bring up that rundown. We're going to go over our week in review. We're going to go into our week 9 results. We'll talk prediction leaderboard. We'll talk crowns. We'll talk clowns. We'll look at our fraud watch. We'll get into our guest spotlight. Got a great guest for you guys today. And then we will jump ahead to the week ahead. We'll talk rest of season power rankings, booms and busts, our 6-player anytime touchdown parlay, and then we will close things out with the catch-up. Let's get into it. We've got 7 trades last week, 2 teams atop the standings at 7-2, 4 teams at 5-4, and only 5 more weeks of action. Let's get into it with our results. All right, so I'm going to talk through these in the order that they were pretty much over as matchups. So if your matchup ended early on Sunday, we'll talk about that first. If your matchup went down to the wire on Monday, we'll talk about that last. So kicking us off, we've got Brendan versus Bill. Brendan starts the week at 2-6, says he's not waiting around for any more bad news. He sends away Bucky Irving, who had spent the last 5 weeks on his IR, to Bill's team in exchange for Aaron Jones and Khalil Shakir. He immediately plugs those into his starting lineup, and things start off great on Thursday night, where Mark Andrews scores 2 touchdowns on 2 catches for 22 yards against the Miami Dolphins. But unfortunately, that was one of the highlights for Brendan, as only one other player on his team breaks single-digit points outside of his quarterback. On the other side, Bill sees CMC explode for 174 total yards and 2 touchdowns, while Drake May adds in 9 catches, 118 yards in the air, and 3 touchdowns of his own. Sam Laporta gets into the mix with a long touchdown, and ultimately he blows Brendan away. Moving on to our next matchup, we've got Steve versus myself. Steve comes into the week with the number 1 QB and the number 1 running back in fantasy, carrying his team to a 5-3 start. But unfortunately, in this week, they both fall short, having their worst individual performances of the season. Meanwhile, on the other side, my team goes off, has 6 players score a total of 8 touchdowns, and each of those skill players who scored a touchdown also had over 50 yards. Only 1 player on Steve's team had over 50 yards and a touchdown. Moving on to our next matchup, we've got Jesse versus Ty. Jesse making some moves this week after a win in week 8. He trades away JCM, Brian Thomas Jr., and Derrick Henry, and he brings in Ashton Genty, Jalen Warren, and a couple other people. Michael Pittman, RJ Harvey in a separate trade. He flips the roster. He's got Jameson Williams off of waivers, ready to go. However, Ty on the other side, not to be outdone, trades away key players DeAndre Swift, Jordan Addison, and Hunter Henry to acquire Brock Bowers, and a couple other people. Who cares about them? Ultimately, Brock Bowers goes off for 12 catches, 127 yards, and 3 touchdowns, leading Ty to a close victory over a strong day from Jesse's team. He had great performances from Ashton Genty, Michael Pittman, and Jalen Warren, as well as Justin Herbert, but unfortunately a Tucker Kraft torn ACL hamstrings Jesse, and to add insult to injury, he also has a blunder alert with 3 separate players who could have gotten him the victory on his bench. He could have started the Patriots backup running back, he could have started Parker Washington, or he could have started that newly acquired RJ Harvey, and to give him the win over Ty. Unfortunately, Ty takes it and moves on to 6-3, while Jesse falls to 3-6. Moving to our next matchup, we've got Ryan versus Jimmy. Ryan will not go away this season, refuses to let those injuries bog him down. He has a fantastic stream of Sam Darnold with Baker Mayfield out for the week. Meanwhile, JSN continues his wide receiver 1 campaign. On the other side, Jimmy has a bounce-back performance from Lamar Jackson, scoring 4 touchdowns after he's missed multiple weeks with injuries. He sees Kyle Monangai go for 176 yards on the ground. Marvin Harrison scores. Things look great. Unfortunately, Jahmyr Gibbs and Jake Ferguson and Rome Odunze, 3 people that Jimmy had been leaning on all year, have some of their worst, if not their worst, performances of the 2025 season thus far, leaving some of those great performances that Jimmy had in his lineup go for waste. Jimmy loses, Ryan wins. They are both now at 5-4. Our next matchup, the stinker of the week, we've got Dan versus Evan. Evan and Dan, both on the other side of those trades that Jesse and Tyler made. Dan, again, sends away Michael Pittman, Ashton Genty, and Jalen Warren. He brings in JCM. He brings in Brian Thomas Jr., and he brings in Derrick Henry. Henry starts things off with a solid performance on Thursday. And then Evan continues to have some bad luck with his newly acquired DeAndre Swift missing the week with a late announced groin injury. Ultimately, Jacoby Brissett goes off on Monday Night Football against the Cowboys, propelling Ned to the victory and securing his record at 5-4. Moving on to our last decided matchup of the week, we've got an upset as the 2-6 team takes down our number one 7-1 team in Glenn. Nick's team has Caleb Williams go off for 36 points against the Bengals. He gets a couple of points from Jalen Waddle and another touchdown from Justin Jefferson. Meanwhile, Glenn has a great week from Jackson Dart, has a good week from his tight end, seems to have filled those positions, but down A.J. Brown, down, I think that's it for that week. He is not able to hold on to the victory as on Monday night. CeeDee Lamb only goes for about 70 yards, needed a little bit more from him. So those are our results for the week. Let's jump ahead to our prediction leaderboard. So you can see we've got Dan in here now. He was able to go 2-6 on both sides, getting a total of 4 points. So not going to be enough to take down any of the guys up top. Had David Montgomery as well as Jalen Warren touchdowns, but ultimately, again, was not able to get those other 4 into the end zone. So there are our prediction leaderboards. Going over to our clowns and crowns, we'll start on the crown side. We've got Bill taking the top team crown. Nick getting the QB crown with Caleb Williams, scored 36 points. Ryan takes the cake with Rico Dowdle, scoring 27 points at the RB spot. His two running backs combined for just under 40 points. I take the cake at wide receiver for the crowns. And then Tyler with Brock Bowers with that unbelievable performance this weekend gets the tight end and flex crown. On the opposite side, we've got Evan, and he takes the clown for the team score. Ironically, Bill takes the clown score of the week for quarterback, despite having the highest team score. I take the clown for running backs with Jordan Mason and Bam Knight not getting the job done. Jesse's got the clown score of the week for wide receiver, and Dan has the tight end and flex clown of the week. All right, moving ahead to Fraud Watch. We've got some updates here. Very much kind of the same. We've got Glenn, myself, and Ty sitting up pretty similar to our head-to-head record as our median score record. Jimmy and Steve and Ryan kind of in the same boat. Then our first flag, we've got Ned at 2-7 after this week against the median score. His total record would be 11-7, including those. Bill, complete opposite. He's 8-1 against the median score, and his record would be just under Tyler and myself at 12-6. Meanwhile, the rest of the league sees themselves slip down a little bit more, except for Nick, who grabs a couple more W's in that column. So really quickly, just want to show you guys also now we're tracking the median score each week. I said I would do this a couple of times. Pretty interesting. Those first 3 weeks under 80 points. If you scored anything over 80, you pretty much expected to win. And then right after that, we see a huge explosion. Things start to come together. We all start to kind of see the big picture, maybe some bye weeks in week 6, take some things down there. But ultimately, at this point, I think you can expect that if you're not scoring over 85, you're probably not going to win that week. All right, so that concludes our Fraud Watch. And without further ado, let us bring on our guest. He's been very patient, very organized, very prepared. He is here. Please welcome Nick. Happy to have you. You've been very patient. I am going to just give you a shout out. I think you have been our most prepared guest. You've been very prompt, getting everything ready, sending me things, no reminders. So thank you for being a good guest. How are you doing today?
My name to be called. I'm happy to be here. I'm ready to roll.
Yeah, I've had a slight process on how to figure this out. I've been trying to avoid people that I'm facing, so obviously was not able to do that this week. I've been trying to get everybody after a win, which for some teams has been harder than others. And then obviously there's only certain people left to have on. So happy to have you here this week. I will point our audience's attention over to our graphic here, talk a little bit about your team and your history with the league. You were our last member to joining in 2018. Very much a peak year for the league by a lot of standards. And you've had some good success. You have had a couple of playoff appearances. You have avoided getting last place for all intents and purposes. And you've had 2 second place finishes, so 2 championship losses. I will say one was to me. But you've had a pretty good run here in the league. So my first question to you, I imagine you're in other leagues. You've been in other leagues before. Where does ours rank in terms of overall competitiveness? Would you say it's a very competitive league or kind of average?
Yeah, at first I joined the league for the vacation, but now in the midst of it all, it's definitely one of the more competitive ones, and the payout's really good. So it makes it more competitive, and there's a lot of everyone is engaged, and there's a lot of smack talk, so that keeps you going.
Yeah, and I imagine with the punishment this year, we'll probably have people even more
Yeah,
engaged
yeah,
for even
probably.
longer. So,
You said I never been in last place. Is that?
as far as the chart says, this chart isn't always accurate. Sometimes, like the loser bracket playoffs will throw it off, but maybe if you want to admit a last place finish, you can.
No,
No,
I
okay.
think you're correct.
All right. I don't think you have, yeah.
I gotta keep that streak alive, brother.
Yeah, we've got, and in 3 years we'll have 10 years of data on you, and we can really have some apples to apples comparisons here. So, all right, looking at your team really quickly. So, you've made some trades, you've made some moves, been active on the waiver wire. A little bit of bad luck with some injuries here. Tyreek Hill being the biggest one. Obviously, he's not listed on your roster here. Lost him a couple of weeks ago to that horrible knee injury that he had. So I do want to ask a question though, because I think he was an interesting draft target. I know everyone's sick of me talking about the draft, but this is, some people just get to talk about it later. Were you targeting Tyreek Hill as somebody who maybe was going a little? His ADP had kind of slipped a little bit. Um, outside of relative maybe some of those other top 5, top 6 wide receivers. Was he someone that you were looking for, knowing that he might fall, or was that something that kind of just happened and once his name come up and your pick was there, which was kind of too tempting not to take?
Yeah, at the point of the draft, I think he kind of just fell to me. I also thought that the Dolphins were going to have a comeback year, and their offense with Tua back would be better. And then there's nothing you really could do about injuries; they just happen. So sucks, but that's why we move on. That's why I try to get Waddles to replace him as number one.
Yeah, it was definitely a good move. You also got Chris Godwin, who kind of an upside play there, hoping that he comes back. Mike Evans out.
He
Ibuka,
doesn't have a leg right now, so
yeah, he may or may not come back, but luckily he's just taken up that IR spot and not a bench spot.
yeah.
So your first overall pick, I do want to ask just one more question about the draft, and then maybe we'll start to look kind of ahead. I'll ask you a question about future outlook. Um, Justin Jefferson, was there any concern about taking the wide receiver tied to JJ McCarthy, or was that really not in your consideration? And it was just, I'm going to take a good wide receiver. Were you thinking about JJ at all during that pick?
No, I mean through off season, everybody loved him. The camp was all over him and saying he was looking good. So I actually probably thought a little higher than most people, but he just kind of fell to where
Yeah,
I was drafted. I think I had a tough spot to pick, and you gotta just play how the board plays.
yeah, absolutely. Do you have a player that is maybe, Dallas Goddard, J.K. Dobbins, all maybe have kind of done? Do you have a player that has been your most pleasant surprise so far based on your draft?
Yeah, it was Keenan Allen, and then he kind of dropped off a bit. Like people were not high on him. They kind
Mm-hmm.
of just thought he was done. So, and then Dobbins has been great, but he kind of needs some touchdowns back
Yeah, Harvey's
this week
been spelling him a little bit.
against my team here. He'll put one in.
Yeah, yeah, we'll see. Kyron had a good week, before the bye. I think that his season, I think potentially could turn around and get a little bit closer to what people were thinking. Rams seem to be humming. Goddard, led the league in touchdowns, I think, or at least tight ends for a little while. And then Jacoby Myers might be an interesting guy moving forward. Brian Thomas not doing the mind meld down in Jacksonville this year. Travis Hunter out, so maybe he
Yeah,
finds some room there.
yeah. We got some upside with some a couple injuries. Got about. Tracy. This is the game, make or break. I think. See if he's gonna suck or be
Yeah,
decent points. So
yeah,
I think
definitely.
that's a big thing for my team right now.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, you've got some, I think, guys who are in a position to have a better second half than they had maybe first half.
Yeah.
All right, perfect. So that is your team. We'll leave it there, but let's start talking about the rest of the league, and we'll start to get into the week ahead. So our next section here is going to be our power rankings. So this is going to work a little bit differently. So we've got the standings here. What I'm going to do is I've got a list, and I'm going to nominate certain teams that I think could be higher than maybe his team is in their standings. You can either say, I agree with this team you nominated, and if we do that, we'll slot them in. I'll figure out a way to share the updated power rankings once we have them all laid out. But I'll give you a chance to say whether or not a team or a group of teams should be over the team that's ranked based on the standings. And you can, again, either agree, you can say no, I think the team that's ranked there should stay there. Or since it's election week, I will give you the chance to do a write-in ballot. So if I don't nominate a team that's on your mind, feel free to write them in and say, I want to go ahead and stamp this person at this spot. Does that make sense?
Good.
All right.
Sense.
Perfect. So we will start with Mr. Carney's team. I'm sorry, it's right there in the name, so I don't feel bad about the last name thing anymore. But we'll start with Glenn. He is sitting at 7-2 in first place, and he's not going to like this, but I do not have a team nominated above him. So I would grant him number one in the power rankings, but I will allow you a chance to agree, disagree. What are you feeling?
Yeah, I agree with that one. I think his team is just pretty stacked there.
Yeah, he's got as an opponent, the wide receiver room from hell. Not sure, and I feel like he does that every year. I just feel like he's had Jamar Chase for like 5 seasons at some point. CeeDee Lamb, AJ Brown.
Every year, somehow gets him.
Power to him. Power to him. He's once again
I did beat him. So.
You did.
So.
He got me earlier in the year.
Bye week this week. So we'll see.
Yeah, he's got a tough one. We'll get into that a little bit. So all right, we're gonna leave Glenn at number one. And yeah, just to speak to a little bit more and justify, I think the biggest flaws with Glenn's team earlier in the year was that he had no quarterback relative to teams who have good quarterbacks, and he didn't have a tight end. And those are, you can decide whether or not those are big problems. But unfortunately for the rest of the league, he seems to have gotten a good QB. Jackson Dart, did well against Denver, did well last week against whoever he played. Seems like he's going to be in the mix for the rest of the season. And then Gadsden in LA is just killing it. So we'll see how long that lasts. But as of right now, he's seemingly kind of filled those 2 holes, and the rest of his roster is.
And you know what? He has enough depth where he can make a move if he wanted to.
Yes, he.
And put somebody in a spot where they're like, oh, that looks good, but probably not.
Yeah, he's I think got a running back on the bench. Yeah, he's got a couple there. All right, so moving to number 2 in the standings, we've got my team here. I'm going to do something maybe a little shocking. I'm going to nominate Bill's team for the number 2 spot, and I'm also going to nominate Jimmy's team. Again, I'm just going to do a reminder. This is not who's most likely to win a championship right now. This is not who's most likely to make playoffs. This is just what rosters do you not want to see on your schedule in the next couple weeks. So from weeks 10 all the way through 14. So I look at Bill's roster. I look at Jimmy's roster. I'm going to go ahead and nominate them. But who are you putting at that number 2 spot? Yeah.
You didn't want to pick yourself, huh?
I'm on there. I'm on the list. I'm just nominating those as options. I figured this gives us both deniability. We can say that this isn't really either of our list.
I'm going to stick with you.
All right.
I'm going to stick with you. I like your Josh Allen. He's going to take you as far as, and if Luka stays healthy.
We'll ride the wings of Josh.
You got Barkley. Yep.
Yeah.
Got a good 3-headed horse there. So.
Yeah, I think.
Stay going.
The core is strong. The core is definitely strong. We'll see about some of those auxiliary pieces. All right, so Tyler sits at our number 2 spot. Things might start to get a little complicated here, but the way this is going to work is if I nominated you above that spot and you don't slot them in, that'll stay. So I'm going to add a team, too, that I think could even be potentially ranked ahead of Tyler. Doesn't have to be. But I'm going to nominate Ryan here as well. So at the 3 spot, you can keep Tyler, or you can select from Bill, Jimmy, or Ryan as the nominated teams.
I think I'm gonna put Bill there.
All right, so we've got Bill number
Honestly,
3.
even though I don't think Tyler's team fell that much off with the whole Daniels situation.
Mm-hmm.
I think he has golf now, so I think he's playing Washington this week, so it could be some fireworks. So I don't think he lost that much. So I mean, I think Bill just has a good roster and he's on a little streak here.
Yeah, I like Bill at 3. Bill, I think, is kind of similar to, I don't want to say similar to Glenn's team, but he's got, a really strong running back room, especially if Bucky Irving does come back. Might not be this week, but even if he comes back next week, it really is only going to matter if he's back for weeks. Well, with Bill's record, it might matter a little sooner, but he hasn't really needed Bucky to win these last few weeks. So I think Bill's team is there. He's got a good wide receiver room. He's got a good running back room if they can come back. Laporta at tight end. So I definitely can justify, I think, Bill's team at number 3. I think that's totally fine. Christian McCaffrey is just having one of those years, it seems. And Achane, too. Achane's just been really good.
Yeah. No, he has a good roster. Very strong.
Perfect. All right, so we'll move on to our 4 spot. So because Ty was pushed down, I'm going to throw him into the nominations. So we've got Steve at the 4 spot. Still nominated. We've got Jimmy, Ryan, and now Tyler. So any of those teams between Jimmy, Ryan, and Tyler that you would put ahead of Steve's roster.
Do you have Steve slotted in the 4 spot?
We'll keep Steve at 4. So if we want to, we'll just kind of keep pushing Steve down. So even though there's a couple teams nominated, if you put another team nominated, we'll go against Steve's and you can nominate another team. So if you want to push Steve's down 2, we can do that. But for now, we're just going to figure out the 4 slots. So it starts with Steve.
Steve's team down. I can't speak. 2 down 1, and Ty's team 4.
Okay, so we're gonna keep Ty at 4. All right, and why are you still believing in Ty's team? We can talk about it a little bit because I know he's gonna be offended that we're pushing him down.
You know what? He has Bowers. He kind of woke up a little bit. He's back. He says that tight end duo. That's kind of nice. He's using it this week, which is a nice little 1-2 punch with him and Warren. I think his roster's pretty good. Bijan's got Bijan Ibuka. Ibuka's number 1 still. I don't think the receivers are ever going to get back.
Yeah.
I think Goff is going to replace Daniels like nothing. I think as long as I don't know what he says Washington this week, and then Philly and Giants, Green Bay. I mean, it's not the best, but Giants and then Washington. Then Dallas.
Yeah, that could be a good one.
So I don't think he lost that much. I guess. I think Steve is. He relies on like 2 or 3 guys. Like if Jonathan Taylor just shits the bed.
Yeah.
He's kind of gonna lose.
I agree.
But I do like his 3. His top 3 are really good, so they could take him. Just make a break, right?
Yeah, we can get to Steve. So all right, so we've got Glenn up top at number 1. We've got myself at 2. We've got Bill at 3, and we're slotting Ty at 4. So we've got a couple of nominations still floating out there. Jimmy, who I nominated right away, is still out there. We've got Ryan still out there. And now we've got Steve pushed down to the 5 spot. I'm going to keep that where it is, but would you put Jimmy or Ryan's team ahead of Steve at the 5 spot?
Let me look at Jimmy's quick here. I don't think I would put Ryan. I don't have faith in his running back.
That's fair. While you look at Jimmy's roster, I'll make the argument, or I'll explain why I nominated them so early. So I look at Jimmy as kind of like very similar to my roster, but potentially better. I think he's got very similar power quarterback with Lamar Jackson. He's got a great RB1 in Jahmyr Gibbs, who he had a bad week last week. He's got to deal with David Montgomery. I still think Jahmyr Gibbs could be better than Saquon rest of season. He's looked the part so far. So I think Jimmy's got a really solid upside quarterback, really solid RB1. And then you get into the wide receivers, and Jimmy's got Devonta Adams, who's been great. You've got Marvin Harrison Jr., who's been great. And you've got Rome Odunze, who started great, hasn't done fantastic like the last month, but still ultimately looks pretty good and is probably still the number 1 option in that Bears offense. So I think those 3 are really solid. And then where I give Jimmy's team the edge is kind of the rest of his roster. So he's got Kyle Monungai, who could start to get some runway. He's got Devonta Smith. He's got Zach Charbonnet. So I just think that Jimmy's team overall is a little bit deeper than mine, whereas I'm kind of relying on guys like Jordan Mason sticking around, Rashad White, who could vanish off the face of the earth. So Jimmy's team, maybe Puka and Rasheed might be better than his wide receivers, between Adams and Harrison. But I think Jimmy's team design wise is still really, really good. So that's why I had them there. And I ultimately would have probably put Jimmy a little higher, but this isn't about where I put them. So that's my argument for Jimmy. But again, going back to that 5 spot, we've got Steve, Jimmy, or even Ryan.
Yeah, I think I like Jimmy there. The only thing I questioned was he was 5 and 4, so I was taking that in perspective. But yeah, his team is like yours and Steve's team is pretty identical in terms of like you have 3 guys and
Yeah.
then you kind of like 3 great guys. Jimmy's team has a great balance, and I think he's due. I think Jimmy's due. I think he's due. He has a great balance, and that Devontae Adams trade is looking really good. He's scoring some touchdowns.
Yeah, Adams.
Adams
has been good.
So yeah, I mean, I think he has a great balance. He has a decent bench too. He doesn't have that many holes in his lineup.
All right, perfect. So
I would put him there. I would put him there. I agree.
all right, so we've got Glenn, Jack, Bill, Tyler, and Jimmy. We move to our 6th spot now. No teams nominated. I won't bring up the next ranked team, but I'm going to say between the 6th spot, would you give the edge to Ryan or would you give that to Steve?
I think I like Steve's team a little better than Ryan's.
Okay.
Not in particular reason. I just think I like Steve's running. What does he have for running backs? He has Taylor, obviously. Montgomery gets some touchdowns. Then he has St. Brown. I mean, if the Lions do good, then it's gonna be good, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that one's a toss up to me. I guess I could go either way there.
Yeah,
Jake Buddy's been going crazy. Darnold did that 1-2 punch. Darnold.
Yep. Yeah, I think it's an interesting.
Running backs, just like Rico, like he's been going off, and is he going to keep that up? He has a nice favorable matchup this week, but I guess I don't know. Are they going to work Hubbard back in, or is he here to stay? And then what's his name might come back for the Chargers anytime soon, right? The rookie.
Oh, Hampton. Yeah, he could come back a couple weeks. So Vidal will probably start to.
Yeah. So I mean, if they keep playing to their capability, he's going to be good, right? I think that's his upside and downside there.
Yeah, I would ultimately between these two. I think I started the side with Ryan. I think JSN doesn't look like he's slowing down. Looks like he's number 1 wide receiver. I think Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield.
Number 1, man.
Yeah.
He's number 1.
Yep. Baker Mayfield, I think, is a good balance with Sam Darnold. I think those are going to be fine, options week to week. I think where the breaking point is that I believe in Rico Dowdle. I mean, he just keeps doing it. He just keeps doing it. Like, they don't have much else going on in that offense. So I think he's going to get fed. Canales seems more inclined to just say, hey, let's go. That's a blow to Chuba Hubbard with Steve's running back depth. Now he kind of goes to a room that's really just got 2. Trey Tucker maybe gets a little bit of a bump with Jacoby Myers getting sent away. That really could help. But Steve, like you said, he's very thin. If Pat Mahomes, Jonathan Taylor, or Amon-Ra St. Brown have a bad day, let alone 2 of them, Steve's upside, I think, starts to dwindle pretty significantly. So I ultimately would go with Ryan. I think between Chase Brown getting a little bit of life back, Dowdle, he's got Travion Henderson who might break out, the next couple weeks with Ramondre Stevenson, who again, that's taken away from Steve. So these guys are like very linked right now. And I think rest of season, again, not looking back at what Steve's already done or where they're going to end up in the rankings, but I think rest of season, I think Ryan is a little bit scarier to come up on your schedule than Steve is right now.
Yeah, I'm on board with that. Yeah.
Okay. I convinced you. All right, so we're going to go Glenn, me, Bill, Ty, Jimmy, Ryan, and then I think that's where Steve slots in. I think Steve slots in at the next best team from there. All right, perfect. So now we've got Just a few more left. So we'll talk the teams remaining. We have not ranked Dan. We have not ranked you. We have not ranked Jesse, Brendan, or Evan. So the next one on the rankings, based on how we've been doing this, would be Dan. But I'm going to go ahead and nominate your team and Jesse's team over Dan. I like Jesse's team after the trades he made. And again, this is just a nomination. You don't have to agree with it. You don't have to accept it. It's just an idea. So I'll nominate your team and Jesse's team for this 8th spot over Dan. Do you think anyone should unseat Dan's team?
No, I'm gonna leave Dan there.
Okay.
I mean, I want to, but I think I have a little more faith in his roster.
Okay. Yeah, he's got some interesting pieces now. Trades to try to get the upside with Derrick Henry.
He finally got rid of his boy Chubb there, and now Steve's name is Chubb. I'm so confused. What's going on here? We're doing names.
I know.
Chubb.
As long as the icons stay the same, that's all I go off of.
Yeah.
So,
but
all right.
I'll leave him there. I'll be nice.
Okay. Yeah, I think Dan's team, Derrick Henry, I think is a better situation probably than Ashton Genty, although he got rejected at the goal line in his first week. I'm sure that was frustrating to watch. I am a little worried about Brian Thomas Jr. I think Michael Pittman probably outscores him for the rest of the year, so I don't know how that trade's going to work out. Obviously, I get it, going for that upside, but now with the injury, Shane Waldron, I think, just killed the Jags this year. He's kind of the Grim Reaper of offenses here. So, yeah, I think that makes sense. So we'll move down. Bill obviously already been bounced up, so that would bring you in at the 9 spot. I'll keep Jesse nominated there, but I'm going to leave the other two off the nomination table for now. So would you put Jesse's team over yours rest of season, or are you going to keep yourself at that 9 spot?
You know what? I like what Jesse did with his roster. I think I don't know if the Harvey and his RB2, but is that just this week? But I like his roster better than mine. I think it's a little more balanced.
Okay. Yeah, I think the running backs he just got.
Sweet.
All right, perfect. Yeah. So we'll give it to Jesse. So I'll put you at that 10th spot. I'm not going to nominate either of the other teams. So now we've got Brendan over Evan in the standings. Are you moving Evan's roster from a power ranking standpoint over Brendan, or are you going to leave Brendan at that 11th spot?
Yeah, we'll let it play out. We'll leave him there.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I think I agree with that. So we've got Brendan and then Evan. All right, I'll get that up in a separate post on the channel so you guys can go ahead and see where we netted them out. But again, Rillo didn't get to pick every team that he wanted, and I had no control over who he selected. So really, neither of us made this. All right, perfect. Let's move on to our next segment. We've got booms. We've got busts. Like I said, I was trying to avoid people facing my team, but unavoidable this week. So we'll start off with our matchup. I've got oh wait, let me make us a little bigger here. There we go. Hey, look at us. I think this is the best week the audio has been, and I say that confidently now, and then hopefully when I upload it, it's not terrible.
Sure about that.
Yeah, I'm not sure about it, but I'm going to say it anyway. So I've got the overlay pulled up here. You've got yourself winning this week. You are projected to win. You've got Josh Allen going off with a boom matchup against Miami, but you've got Saquon busting in Green Bay. So walk me through this one. What are you seeing? Why are you taking it yourself?
Yeah, I got to have some confidence in myself. Why not? I'm on the pod. I got to have some heart.
Have to take yourself on pod.
And then the boom and the bust. I think Josh Allen, he's going to run all over them and pass all over them. Dolphins are done. I think they're done. But devil's advocate here. They could just play good because it's a division game. I don't know. I think Josh Allen scores all his points by the third quarter and is not playing in the fourth. That's my biggest concern. Yeah. But he might have 4 touchdowns by then.
Gotta hope.
And then Barkley, I was just going with the Packers D. Just hopefully they limit him a bit.
Very interesting matchup. Very interesting matchup between.
I'm picking him because I'm playing you. So wishful thinking here.
I think out of all the guys who could bust, I think he's the one kind of you're hoping that does. It'll be interesting
He's kind of
with.
hurt, right?
He had a groin thing at the end. It looked like he was trying to go back in the game, but they were up by so much that there was no point. So
He's not really hurt. And he had a bye, so.
yeah, maybe he's limited in practice today, and things are looking different. But I'm not anticipating that he's really hurt.
Hopefully they just stack the box, man, and get in them. Not for your sake, but for mine.
Well, what I was going to say, it's very interesting because Green Bay is technically, I think this is more because they don't have an owner. I've heard that speculated, but they were the team that petitioned the tush push be banned. So everybody in Philadelphia has been circling this one as like, oh, we're coming at you. The tush push has not necessarily had a good year so far in terms of being endearing. I think people are really annoyed with it, so I'm a little curious how this goes. I think things may have swung in Green Bay's favor. In terms of like the perception of it all, but I'm curious how the Eagles staff and ownership are approaching this week. So we'll find out what happens.
Do you think they're that mad about it, or do you think it's fake news?
It's Philadelphia. They're mad about it. They're mad about it.
All right.
All right, let's move on to our next matchup. This one we're predicting it as kind of the stinker of the week. We've got Evan versus Brendan, the battle for not last place. You've got Brendan taking this one, led by a Daniel Jones bounce back boom and a Kenneth Walker bust. So walk us through. What are you seeing here? Why you got K Walk as a bust? What are you seeing from Daniel Jones?
Yeah, I traded K Walker, so that's kind of a little petty of me. And I think Charbonnet gets a touchdown. So I don't know. It just stinks. What was my other one? Daniel Jones?
Yes, you have Daniel Jones going off against Atlanta.
Who they? Yeah, I think he's. They lost last week against the Steelers, right?
They did, yes, and Daniel Jones had a little bit of a rattled day.
They're at home, right? I think he's gonna have a good day.
All right. So you've got on the road or not on the road. He's got him at home. We'll see what he can do against that Atlanta defense. But you've got Brendan taking this one. All right, moving on to a very interesting matchup. Steve looking to get back on track. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. I have this just labeled wrong on my end. It is Jesse versus Tyler. Still an interesting matchup. Really, really could kind of determine the vibe. So you've got Tyler taking this one. You've got Genty, your hometown favorite there, with a boom against what looks like the Jacksonville Jaguars. And then you've got Michael Pittman. Has been very good this year, busting against looks like I've got the matchup from last week. Oh man, this didn't save.
Who am I picking?
All right, hold on. I can fix this pretty quickly, actually.
Who? Yeah, I don't think they're playing. I think it's Jesse and Jimmy.
It is Jesse and Jimmy. Sometimes I do things and then it doesn't save.
It helps when you have someone prepared, brother.
I know. All right, so we've got Jimmy and Jesse. If my other matchups are wrong, we'll talk over it. But you've got Justin Herbert busting for Jesse. He's got Pittsburgh this week, and then you have Jahmyr Gibbs bouncing back against the Commanders for a boom for Jimmy. But you're taking Jesse in this one, so walk me through what you're thinking there. Jesse's got R.J. Harvey against the Raiders. He's got Deebo Samuels. He's got Jameson Williams against Washington.
With the boom or bust, or are we starting with the matchup?
We can start with the matchup. You've got Jesse.
I got Jesse. So what do I have, Jesse? I picked him.
I think after last week, his team, continues to play well. Jimmy's team, couple of injuries, with Odunze, but he's kind of been doing that where he practices and doesn't practice. I think this one's going to be really tight. But yeah, you do have a surprise victory for Jesse.
Yeah, it was kind of a toss-up for me. I think I leaned Jesse because he had a good week last week.
Okay, I like it. All right, we won't dwell on it. All right, let's see if I've got these accurately pulled up now. We don't. Hold on, let me pull these up. Sorry, everybody. So I think now I'm looking for, we'll talk Ryan and Dan. All right, so we've got Ryan and Dan's matchup pulled up. You've got Ryan taking this one. You've got Rico Dowdle continuing his surge, and then you've got JCM, who kind of surprised is in the lineup right now. You've got JCM busting another week. What you're thinking here? Why are you taking Ryan?
Let's see, Ryan. I like his matchups this week. I like Rico obviously against the Saints. I think he could get 30 points again.
Yep.
They're gonna, but I mean, on the other hand, he's playing the Saints division. I feel like those division games are tough. They could go either way. And Jake another division game. So I think he continues. He's been going off. That's why he's receiver one.
Yeah, with
I don't love Jacory. I mean, like
yeah, he's been tough.
so much. He's been awful. And then Nico's kind of been sleeping a bit. Yeah, I mean, I'll leave it at that. I think I just like the matchups. The matchups better for Ryan.
Yeah.
And his team moving in that direction.
Yeah, I think a couple of interesting things. I think it'll be one interesting to see what JSN does with Shaheed in the offense. I think if anything, it just opens things up for him even more.
Yeah.
Curious what happens with Romeo Dobbs after the Tucker Craft injury. I think the Jets could be pretty bad with Harold Fannin this week. Could be in a nice spot to go off. And then
he's their main target too. So,
yeah.
I mean,
so we'll see. They just benched. They traded one Williams brother and then they benched the other. So I don't know how much. I don't know how active that Jets defense is going to feel like being this week. So and then Quentin Johnson. I know I just traded him away.
I think they're depleted.
Yeah.
Dead in the water.
Yeah, I think they're going to be pretty low this week.
You might be starting this week for them.
And then Quentin Johnson, I think he's another one where I'm curious. Obviously, just traded him away. Curious to see how he does. The Chargers lost Joe Alt, which could be really big. But then they traded immediately for Trevor Penning from the Saints, who was a first-round pick. And the only reason I know about him is because I think he was the guy that the Saints ultimately got after they traded their pick to let us get Devonta Smith, and it hasn't worked out well for them. So Eagles fans like to laugh at them for that. All right, so we'll take you've got Ryan here, and we'll watch how Rico Dowdle does. Again, I think that really could determine where Ryan's season goes, is if he can continue doing what he's doing. All right, and then we've got two more matchups, I believe. Our most exciting matchup, at least for me this week, projected scores of 102 and 108. We've got Glenn taking on Bill. Glenn looking to hold on to his first place spot in the league, and Bill looking to continue his win streak after starting off 0-5. You've got Bill taking this one, but you've got James Cook with a boom. And then you've got Trevor Etienne with a bust. So walk us through, why are you taking Bill on this one?
Yeah, you know what? This one was a hard one. It's gonna be some flyers in this matchup. I think I like Dart and Cook this week. They play some terrible defenses. Chicago barely has one.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason I picked Bill is because CeeDee Lamb and Chase are on a bye, so I think he's more whole, and I think he's going to keep the ball rolling here. He's got a little winning streak going. I got to ride with him. Yeah,
I think this one comes down. If Bucky Irving plays, Bill's team gets pretty scary. I think A.J. Brown is in a nice smash spot this week, bouncing back after being a little tweaked up with his hamstring, but I think that Green Bay, Philly is going to be looking to put the hurt on them. So I'm picking a big A.J. Brown this week. Big A.J. Brown week this week. All right, I'm going to have to fix this because I think I have the wrong matchup. I've got, who haven't I talked about yet?
Duffy and Evan.
Oh, okay, let me bring that one up. No, I thought we did talk about that. Did we talk about Tyler and Steve? Yes, we did. All right.
Yeah. Or did we? I don't think so.
We'll talk about Evan again because I think that's right. I went to talk about them and then their thing.
Maybe you're right.
No, we did. We did talk about that. We talked about Steve and Jimmy. Oh, we didn't talk about Tyler. We didn't talk about Tyler and Steve. So let me replace this one with Tyler and Steve. This is what happens. My producer requests time off.
PTO.
All right. So you've got Steve taking this one. You've got Jonathan Taylor against Atlanta going for a boom. So you're very high on the Colts this week. And then you've got Brock Bowers. Maybe a little bit of a Raiders nag here. You've got Brock Bowers with the bust. So walk me through, why are you taking Steve here?
Yeah, that was definitely a little Raiders nag for sure, and he had a big week last week, so I think the Broncos D is going to try to just contain his booty. And I'm taking. Who am I taking?
You've got Steve overall.
I got Steve, and he changed his name. I don't. I wish I thought about that more because I'm looking at his team name. I don't really like what he did there. But
Mm,
man, especially coming from Steve, he's a creative guy.
that is big.
But I'm picking Steve based on Jonathan Taylor's bounce back. Montgomery, I think he's gonna get maybe one or two touchdowns there. And St. Brown, I think they're gonna to Washington. And even DJ Moore, I think he might get in there.
Yeah.
Slayton, I think Slayton's kind of a nice underdog play there. Like he's been having a good last couple weeks. He's the number one guy. He might get in the end zone. I don't know. I like his matchups better. That's what I went back
Okay.
off of.
All right. So you're taking Steve because the
Stronger
matchups.
offenses versus weaker defenses.
I feel it. That is some sage insight there. I think that it's going to be an interesting matchup because this one, you could be looking. Ty could push ahead to 7-3, and then suddenly Steve's at 5-5, and these teams just go completely separate directions rest of season in terms of what they're looking to do. Or
Yeah.
Steve gets the W, and you've got two teams that are 6-4 and very much in the mud. So this is going to be interesting.
Yeah, and I noticed Goff. So it's Goff versus Montgomery and Brown. So that could be a tricky game.
Yeah.
Could be a tricky matchup there. Yeah.
All right, perfect. So we will keep track of those. We will update our predictions leaderboard next week once that is all said and done, and we will see where you net out. For the other side of the predictions, we have made it. Let me just do a quick edit here to our 18-second 6-player anytime touchdown parlay. So I'm going to bring us up. I will give you 18 seconds and about 6 seconds to rattle off these players. And if you want to explain, you can, but you don't have to. You do only have 18 seconds. So without further ado, I'll give you another 5 seconds, but I'm going to give you your 18-second 6-player parlay now.
Yeah, so I got Jefferson. I think he's going to get in the end zone again. Monty against the Redskins, definitely touchdown. Odunze against Giants, I think he's due for a touchdown. Daniel Jones, I think he's going to run one in.
Okay.
Calf, little bounce back there. And Nico's been quiet, so I just kind of threw him in there. And I like the odds. The odds, at the end of the day, I'm an odds guy, so I like a little bang for your buck.
Perfect. All right, so we've got, this is what I thought I saw. I thought I heard DK Metcalf in there slipping, but we've got Montgomery, we've got Daniel Jones, we've got Odunze, we've got JSN, Justin Jefferson, and James Cook. A lot more wide receivers than we saw last week. So, and a quarterback. I think no, we've seen Jalen Hurts a couple times, but our first DJ appearance. So we will. I think the odds you pulled them for us. I think they were around like plus 1,200 or something like that, or 12,000. Remember what they were?
Yeah, you got it.
So
You got it.
way up there. So if anyone wants to take this one, let us know if it hits. Alrighty, perfect. Nick, you have made it through the pod. I will disclose that this was our most challenging recording of the season so far, and Nick stuck through it like a trooper. But if you've been following along on the pod, you know that we like to end things off with the catch up. So I will throw this moment to you. Catch the league up, something you've got going on in your life, something new, something old, something that you want to tell us. What do you got?
Yeah, nothing too crazy, but UConn basketball starting, so I got my season ticket holder. My wife's pretty into it now after 2 years, so it's a little fun thing for us to go do, especially when it goes cold out. Breaks up the week and something to root for and do something together.
Nice.
Both enjoy. So.
How many home games do they have?
Crazy. They have 8. I have 8 tickets at the Excel. Well, it's now the People's Bank, so United Center. So
Got to get those sponsorships in.
What the upgrade is. Yeah.
Very cool. All right, so you got 8 tickets. What do you have a game that you're looking forward to most? Already circled up.
Yeah, I got this Texas game circled. I might not be able to go to that, but be able to sell them for a good price.
Hey, that's plug it, my friend.
And then any of the Big East games, I think I have St. John's, so that one will be exciting. And a lot of weekend games and Friday games this year, so I'm for that as well, especially with that drive to Hartford.
Yeah, very
We
cool.
make fun out of it.
Very cool. How what was the process of getting the season tickets? Were you on like a wait list for a while, or you just kind of decide to pull the trigger this year?
Yeah, so the year before they won the national championship, I got in, like right in, and then they've been going up ever since. And you get a re-entry every year. And actually, this year I had to change different seats because missed my time, but I was able to get kind of identical price range seats. So it's just
Where
like
are
I
you?
just kept doing
Where are you in Excel?
corner, right corner, it's like section two something. Nothing crazy, but enough to see the game and make a night out of it and continue the tradition for 3 years.
Nice. No, that's awesome. That is a nice thing, especially when you get the wives involved and they start to care on their own. It's always
Yeah, especially when they like something to do with sports, it makes you focus
yes,
more.
yeah. It's nice when you can enjoy it with someone. All right, we are just under, well, a little over 50 minutes. I think we can probably start to wrap things up. So, thank you very much. You were fantastic this week. Well, not good luck. I usually say good luck to whoever's here, but I'm facing you, so not good luck. Bad luck this week. Good luck for me. But good luck the rest of the way after this week. Thank you again for coming on. Quick, big shout out. Whoa. I gotta go back. Oops. Quick, big shout out to our commissioner, Mr. Ferraro. Oh, said his last name again. It's too late. It's already printed everywhere. Big shout out to our commissioner. Big shout out to our current champ. Shout out to my producer, even though they're off this week. And as always, like, subscribe, comment down below. Tell us whether or not you disagree with those power rankings. Let us know if Rillo got any booms and busts wrong. But until next time, we will see you next week. We're out. All right. And I'll just hit